Black death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson. And we ended up with Richard Nixon.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the mayor of Chicago, Illinois, Brandon Johnson, blaming the deadly Independence Day, July 4th weekend on not getting to the root causes, Richard Nixon, just ridiculous random things. Now, before we get to what he said and also the news clip from the weekend in Chicago, let's back up a little bit and give some context. Now, the last toll, I guess you would say, shooting toll, death toll that I saw was 109 shot, 19 deceased in Chicago over the Independence Day weekend, which is, you know, it's pretty high. That's big numbers, but you're not really surprised. It's Chicago after all. Any kind of time like this, quote unquote, holiday weekend, regular weekend, you're going to have violence in the dangerous areas of the city. It is what it is. Now you go to certain parts of the city, it's not so bad. In the hoods where you have a lot of gang violence going on, oh yeah, you're going to have crime and violence all the way through the roof. Now, maybe Brandon Johnson should talk about the gang problem and also the illegal aliens running around who may come from prisons in Venezuela and other places around the world. Maybe that should be the focus rather than talking about some political stuff from the 1970s. Now, before I go any further, let's get into the first news clip from Chicago. Then we're going to get into more of what Brandon Johnson said. And of course, I will link to everything in the description box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
At least 17 people were killed and 89 others hurt over the 4th of July holiday weekend in Chicago. And right now, Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling and Mayor Brandon Johnson are set to address the violence. CBS News' Mugo Odigwe live at police headquarters, where today's news conference will be held, and we could learn more. Mugo, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. We know that news conference is set for 9 this morning, and that is where we expect to hear from city leaders as Chicago police investigates dozens of shootings across the city, including this one. Take a listen.
I got people running and screaming at 57th and Maryland area, close to the ER. Send any units from U of C right away.
The dispatcher you just heard from is talking about yesterday morning's drive-by shooting near 57th and Cottage Grove.
Now, for you guys who live in Chicago, been in Chicago, what kind of area is that? Is that an area where you normally have crime and violence? Is it a sleepy part of the city? If there is such a thing as sleepy part of the city, let me know what kind of place this is. And if you're surprised that crime happened there.
That is near the University of Chicago Hospital. We're talking steps away from the emergency room. 3 men were hurt in that shooting. According to Chicago police, the shooter was in an SUV. In the end, a 29-year-old man and a 31-year-old man were shot. A police source tells us a 51-year-old security guard for the University of Chicago also suffered a graze wound to his nose. Hospital officials put out an alert adding that the victims were found on the sidewalk, and so far, no arrests in that shooting. But
imagine getting grazed by a bullet on your nose, like you were that close to getting shot in the face. And you're just a security guard trying to, you know, secure this university, and you got this hooliganism happening right here.
But again, we expect to hear from city officials later this morning at 9, addressing the violence this holiday weekend, as well as talking about some resources for victims of violence. We'll be at that news conference and let you know what else.
I'm not really sure what resources they want. I mean, a hospital, get treated, released. What do you want? Now, let's get to Brandon Johnson and see what he's talking about. This guy, I don't know, man. I don't know what y'all are thinking about in Chicago, electing this person. This guy is not even really fit for the job, having panic attacks. Listen, I understand people have anxiety, they get nervous or whatever, but if that's you and you know you have that kind of condition, maybe the job for you is not mayor of a major city in the USA. But let's check him out.
So we cut off the pipeline of boys between the ages of 10 and 19 being either victims or the perpetrators.
Now, I hope he wasn't talking about the school to prison pipeline. That's the biggest crock of BS I ever heard in my life. It's the biggest crock. Just because you have young people going to prison does not mean that school is responsible. How about their home life? Because I could be right next to somebody in a class. That guy goes to prison. I don't. Why? We in the same class. So if it's a school to prison pipeline, why am I not affected? But he is. The reason why a lot of these young people are getting locked up, 14, 15, etc., is because of their home life. There's no parents at all. I mean, the whole thing about the dad not being there, that's not even, look, your mom's on drugs, your mom's not there, your mom's in the streets, your grandparents, maybe they're trying to raise you. You might end up with an aunt or an uncle. You might go to foster care. You're pretty much just bouncing around to wherever you can lay your head. No home stability. You're living in a bad neighborhood where everybody is not very smart. I would use the R word, but we're on YouTube and I can't say that, but you know what I'm talking about. I saw a viral clip from Baltimore where I might have been a community leader, pastor, or somebody talking about, they say it takes a village to raise a child, but what if the village is the rest? But I'm getting off the path. Let me get back to Brandon Johnson.
So, yeah, it is personal. Black death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson.
Lyndon Baines Johnson, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. That Lyndon Baines Johnson, you want to sit up here and cape for him after you have 109 shootings and 19 people deleted in your city over a weekend? Is that what you want to do? Okay, go for it, boss.
And we ended up with Richard Nixon.
Tell me what Richard Nixon has to do with 14-year-olds shooting each other in the hoods of Chicago over nothing. It's not even about poverty, really. I mean, people getting deleted over girls, people getting deleted over music videos, rap songs. You said something about my baby mama. You said something about my cousin. Now I got to come get you. I just saw the young guy, Julio, 25, 26 out there in Florida. Okay, he got deleted. Ain't nobody surprised. His whole thing was making music about disrespecting the dead ops, as they say, his dead rivals in the street, going to the gravesite, desecrating the grave, making music videos there. So of course he's gonna get deleted. And then as a result of that, now you got a war happening where the person who is alleged to have put the hit out has a bunch of his friends getting deleted too, like 6, 7 of his closest friends in the past few days. What does that have to do with Richard Nixon? Somebody please let me know. I'm really just drawing a blank.
I'm going to work hard every day to transform this city. That's what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And I need everybody to step up.
Okay, so that's Brandon Johnson talking about Richard Nixon, LBJ, 1970s, federal government, nothing to do with what's happening right now in these inner cities. Chicago, it's an easy one to talk about because it's the same thing all the time. But you see that happening everywhere all over the country to a smaller scale or a similar scale. And I don't think that what they're doing is helping. You know what I would do as I close is to just get tougher on crime. These guys, a lot of times it's a revolving door. They commit a crime. The police do their job to the best of their ability to arrest them, to get them locked up. But then when it comes time for sentencing, you're getting a slap on the wrist at best. All right, Mr. Walmart Tavius, you were shooting inside of an occupied dwelling. You are already a several-time offender, several-time loser. You already got a felony on your record. You had a gun illegally, ammunition illegally, and you had a switch. Okay, you got some federal mandatory minimums, but here in Cook County, we're going to let you off with a slap on the wrist. Okay, from people like Juicy Smouye trying to commit a hate hoax to start a race war during a very temperamental time in the country, him getting a slap on the wrist because of political connections, all the way up or down or across, however you want to see it, to the gang member just shooting and thugging and drugging, getting a slap on the wrist at best, if he even gets convicted at all. That's what's going on. That's the culture you have in these hood areas of the city. And as long as that's going on, this is going to persist. You might as well just pre-record your annual Independence Day damage report. Oh, we're going to try to do better, and you got to get tough on these people, man. And if you're not, you're just going to have more of the same. As simple as that. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts about the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, talking about Lyndon Baines Johnson and Richard Nixon when it comes to the violence happening in the city? How does it relate? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This guy, Brandon Johnson, is ridiculous. And I don't think he is going to be able to do anything to combat the crime and the violence. You make me the mayor? Man, please. I'll be in there like Joe Clark, leaning on me with the baseball bat. You wanting to be thugging and drugging, shooting, terrorizing the neighborhood. You will never see the light of day again. I'll put you in the gulag under, not just in the penitentiary making big rocks to little rocks, but I'm talking about underground. We forget about you. Like, we don't have time. The regular people, hardworking people of the community don't have time for the terrorists constantly making things dangerous. We don't have time for it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.